Hi, my name is Erin. This is Electronic Medical Records, a buyer's guide for small physician practices. What this article was is it was a research study conducted by Forrester Research. It was along with California Healthcare Foundation. The purpose of the study was to create a buyer's guide for small physician practices, small being 9 physicians or fewer. They looked at 8 different vendors. The reason is because more and more small physician practices, were purchasing EMRs. This was done back in 2003. So they were doing so because EMR costs were coming down, return on investment calculations were positive, and EMRs were proving to avoid medical errors for their patients. And then we had third-party payers who were offering incentives to doctors for good quality documentation for their visits and for their patient care. Like I said, this was conducted by Forrester Research, and they were looking at 3 key characteristics, being current offering, strategy, and market presence. We're going to look at those a little bit more in detail in our next slide. So current offering, we have functionality, so how quickly and effectively doctors can view information and document their visit. Usability being navigation and integration of the EMR. Support being from start to finish, really. Customer support from install to the help desk to software upgrades and fixes. And then, of course, we have the cost. Strategy, we have executive vision being what is the view for the future. For the EMR, we want long-term, not short-term. And then we have the product roadmap. What is the plan for improving the functionality, usability, cost, and support? And then for market presence, it's installed base, the revenues of the EMR vendor, the number of employees they have, the size of the sales force, and who are their business partners. Those are all things we want to consider when looking at an EMR vendor. They also created a 12-step guide. We won't go into them into too much detail because there are so many and they're pretty self-explanatory. So step 1 of buying an EMR is list the high priority needs of the practice. 2, list the EMR product features most likely to meet those needs. 3, factor in future requirements. So again, we want long-term, not short-term. 4, write up a simple request for proposal. 5, make the commitment to having doctors enter data. We want all of our physicians on board with this EMR to make sure that they are actually utilizing the tool and entering the patient data and information. 6, choose either keyboard and mouse or stylus and touchscreen style. 7, test drive each system using common scenarios prepared beforehand. 8, obtain 3 physician references from each vendor, and they suggest actually going on site to these references and seeing how they're utilizing their EMR. 9, score competing candidates. 10, settle on a purchase plan. 11, nail down commitment on initial implementation and technical support. And 12, really take advantage of it being a buyer's market. So the one that they chose was Logican from GE Medical System Technologies. They said that all 8 EMR vendors were actually good options, but this one was the best one across the board, in line with their characteristics and their 12-step guide. So this was their top choice. Now obviously you don't have to pick one of the 8 that they recommended for a small physician practice, but here are a few other elements that you might want to consider, and these are actually based on a 1997 edition of the Institute of Medicine. It is their recommendations for an excellent EMR. And again, they're just some more considerations for physicians to take into account. So sorting the products, you want an integrated view of patient data, so you want to make sure that you have all of their history from previous physicians, a hospital visit, lab work, imaging. You want everything. And then we have access to resources that provide clinical decision support. So this would be like alerts and reminders that pop up. And then computerized physician order entry, like for prescriptions. And then integrated communications would be like the physicians talking to another physician in the practice about a patient. And this is all done in the EMR, or a physician can talk to another member of the staff about the patient using an EMR, so it's safe and secure. And then we have consumer features, and then we have finally population management tools, like for research purposes or for large disease populations. So these are all additional things to consider. Finally, they say that purchasers should consider functionality, usability, service cost, strategy, and market presence, along with their provided 12-step guide. They also really encourage purchasers to factor in considerations that matter the most to their practice specifically. So a great tool for somebody looking to purchase an EMR, a really thorough buying guide, and lots of great tips and tricks. And here is the link to the article. Thank you.